Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. I've been trading cannabis stocks for a long time. We're going to check in on the charts in the sector as we started some consolidation. No word from the DEA. Some people were hopeful it was going to be this week and shaping up the potential for weekly consolidation. Is this going to be healthy? I'll let you know the little indications that will tell us that. And we also have a fundamental update on the psychedelic sector front. We'll look at that at the end of the video. All right, so consolidation is clearly underway, and right now we are on the brink of starting weekly consolidation, which I've been talking about as being inevitable. It's going to lead to a 10 to 20% pullback. Hopefully, that would be the healthy side of things. And we're going to be looking for weekly higher lows as the most likely scenario. So when we pull up the weekly chart, what's different about this candle? We can see that it's been a higher low every single candle for the last 7 weeks, and we're watching for that pattern to potentially break. And we could say that the probability that that pattern is going to break into weekly consolidation is the highest it's been in the last 7 weeks because of where we closed. Look at the close of all these prior candles. They're up near the highs. They've got long lower wicks. They're not near the lows, whereas Friday we closed a couple pennies above the low of the week, which means if Monday rolls around, it would not be hard to drop and break the low of the week and then look for the weekly consolidation to set that higher low. For me, we use retracement size to determine if this is healthy or not. And retracement, ideally 382 or less, favors continuation as a bull flag. And if you look up Chart Guys Fibonacci, there's a whole video describing this concept a lot more in depth. If we retrace 50% plus, that's when we start creating space that we could potentially tighten up in an equilibrium. So the weekly EMA 12 is also going to be a guide for me, and that's going to be approaching the 382 retracement over the next couple of weeks. We already had our hourly back burner. Talked about that in the last video. So TCG back burner alert went off at the low, near the low on Thursday. Solid bounce, but no continuation at this point. If this is going to be the strongest daily uptrend, that means hourly oversold marks the daily higher low. And when that happens, you bounce, you then pull back, you confirm an hourly uptrend into continuation and set that daily higher low. We haven't officially broken to the lower low yet, but we're on the verge of doing so. And so if we break 955 first thing this coming week, we could say hourly oversold did not mark the daily higher low, and that is a little bit of a short-term red flag just as far as, okay, this is not the ideal strong daily uptrend at this point. From a fundamental perspective, again, we set up for a sell-off this week without any headline because once we get the, Sneed or whatever his name is on LinkedIn, getting everybody excited and a bunch of people buying for the prospect that we hear news this week, then if you don't get that news, people priced in information incorrectly, and so a bunch of people sold in response to that. And so we also have fundamentals of Kamala Harris just put out a video saying, we've made federal cannabis changes, and everybody's like, wait a second, no, you haven't. And so people are speculating, keyword, speculating that video was made anticipating the DEA announcement would potentially be out before that video was released. Could have been misspoken, whatever. For me, I'm not, hanging on the edge of my seat for this news. It's definitely a major factor in my game plan, but whether it comes this week or, in 6 weeks, it's not going to make a major difference in terms of my style of trading. And so again, as I mentioned, I've got my swing core. When I'm trading bounces, they're generally day trades for me because I'm not trying to size up very aggressively. I've already got plenty of size that I want in this sector. And so if I'm going to size up aggressively, it is two things. Number one, a headline. And number two, it would be a spot where I need to be able to say, I like simple statements. So I need to see weekly consolidation underway, and I need to have a level where I then can say that's either the weekly higher low or I'm wrong. And so let's just go back here as an example. We see a bull move up, weekly consolidation. As soon as we break the high of this candle, which is 667, the weekly higher low is set. And then we can use that level. If I'm entering on a break of 667 and I put my stop under 599, my mindset is that's the weekly higher low. We're either going to see continuation or I'm wrong and we'll stop out. So I need something from the bulls. I mean, we haven't even started weekly consolidation, but let's just say that it does start, and keeping the broader market in mind as well, still very strong, but I need a level. I need to pull back, and then I need the bulls to show back up again to give me a level where I can say that's my new support level benchmark, And the position size that I have added to be more aggressive is going to use that level as a stop loss, because if that level were to break, that for me is a red flag. So we'll be watching day by day what the price action is like. The ETF right now has cash of, I think, about $6 million. So definitely some cash to buy the dips, but not a huge amount that's going to make a material difference in my opinion. As far as support after 955, I'm looking at 913 and 883 as the next two support levels that were established on the way up. As far as the downtrend, the hourly is our guide. We had a lower high at 1006 when we could not break that level on Friday. It was just another lower high at 996. And make note of the days, these candles, I talked about it on Trulieve, which we'll get to in just a moment, when we open at the high of the day and then bears control. That gives us, look at every period of consolidation. Open at the high of the day, and then it's 3-4 days of pullback. Open at the high of the day, close weak, 3-4 days of pullback. Couple in here. So open at the high of the day, close weak is an indication of consolidation and bear control of those hourly trends. Getting a phone call. Shut up. Trulieve. So bit of a blow off top, just in the sense that when you run up so hard, you don't establish a ton of support on the way up, which leads to a pretty solid pullback. And again, same thing. We had a nice hourly bounce. I exited all of my position on this bounce because I'm not looking to scale or to size up at the moment. And if this were going to mark a healthy daily high or low, we have to hold the low and break the high. Talking about retracement sizes, the pullback on Friday is not ideal. If this were going to be healthy, we would retrace less than 50% of the bounce and confirm an hourly uptrend to set the daily high or low. Instead, we have retraced 70% of the bounce. It's still possible to tighten up here, but it's just not an ideal sign of strength. So we've got support at 975 and 945. We have a very clear resistance at 1085. A daily high or low is still the most likely scenario. The bulls are still trying to hold daily EMA 12, but the hourly is still favoring the bears at the moment. I may be interested in a Trulieve swing position. Again, watching the weekly. We'll see if weekly consolidation starts. But again, I'm being very patient because I have to have a clear stop level nearby that I'm going to be going off of to limit my risk if I'm going to size up. Green thumb is still a possible rising wedge. I was talking about the MSOS possible rising wedge a couple times on the way up, and that did break bull, which was a good sign. Not much follow through on the bull break, but it wasn't a rising wedge. We can say that much. Green thumb still has that possibility where we've got a very clear pattern of bull breaks lacking follow through, and then we've got just start the level that needs to break. If we break 13, I'll say yes, the rising wedge is confirming. And that just means weekly consolidation. 13 and 1257 are our supports. We have not hit hourly oversold yet. So if we break 13, hourly oversold will be coming up, and we'll keep an eye on the response to that hourly oversold bounce. But again, another name where the bulls just want to maintain weekly EMA 12 support on a pullback, ideally just above $12 now, because that level has been holding the last couple of months on the way up. Curaleaf has my attention here. And the reason is this is a cup and handle setup. And we've got a very clear resistance. And now we're pulling back. And the question is, can we form a bull flag? Simple statement, if we hold 525, it's a daily bull flag and real strong. But it doesn't have to be a daily bull flag. A weekly bull flag would just be fine as well. And again, watching our retracement sizes, as long as it's less than 382, it's a potential bull flag. So what I want to see is a pullback for a weekly high or low. Then I make an entry, use that low as my stop, and I did this exact same thing on OGI. We'll do that trade next just because it's the same theme. And then, hopefully, we can break that double top. The longer we go without news, the more we're going to fade, in my opinion, in terms of just interest. It's just the supply and demand. If everybody's that's going to buy leading up to the DEA, and now we don't get news for a couple of weeks, interest is going to fade a little bit. So we just have to keep that in mind and watch for the weekly high or lows. But Curaleaf, so same thing as OGI. I've been talking about how OGI is my favorite Canadian play. It is definitely low volume and illiquid, but easily one of the best performers this past week as the entire sector was consolidating, and OGI closed very strong. We do have earnings next Tuesday, I believe, so double check that date. But a lot of us that are in positions from the 170s are going to trim some profits to then sit through earnings with a little bit less risk now that we're up 20% plus. But it was the same thing. So weekly failed resistance. I entered on this bull flag. I made a thesis. This is either a bull flag for a cup and handle type of setup. Again, cup and handles are continuation patterns, not reversal patterns. It's the exact same psychology. It's just placed differently in the trend. But my thesis was, if 155 breaks, I'm wrong. That's my stop. And so I'm looking for the same thing on Curaleaf if this consolidation remains very healthy. OGI, as far as hourly support, anything above 217 keeps the bulls in full control. We'll be due for daily consolidation depending on earnings, of course, but plenty of space for a daily higher low to try and form compared to 169. And if I wanted an entry at this point, I personally would be waiting for daily consolidation, so I'm not chasing right before a, daily consolidation can easily be a 10% plus pullback. So just keep that in mind. But strongest Canadian name easily. Some of the lower cap names, TSNDF. So I did the volume profile video with Lamont where we were talking about using volume profile for technical analysis. He was highlighting this 234 resistance zone, and we, peaked above it briefly a couple times this past week, but couldn't close above it. That's still very clearly resistance. So again, same thing. Are we about to shape up weekly consolidation after setting a higher low every single week for 8 weeks at this point? And could easily be shaping up. Bears want to see a break of 208 to convincingly start that weekly consolidation. VRNOF, same deal, closed near the low of the week. Daily chart, still an uptrend. Anything above 568 is a daily high or low. So no major red flags. If we pull back further, the next major step is, do bears confirm the daily downtrend? It's one thing to lose a daily uptrend. The next question is, do we confirm a daily downtrend as a result of the next bounce? And that would then further increase the strength of the bears if daily downtrends do confirm. Some names already do have daily downtrends. AYRWF is one of them. This was a pullback to lose the daily uptrend. This was a weak bear flag bounce. Look at your retracement size. Retracement was less than, right? It was right about 40%, so right around that bear flag level. And then we dropped to a lower low. So we can now say our daily lower high is 343. Anything under that is a daily lower high. Support after 271 is 266, and then a gap fill at 253. And so some tier 2s have already started weekly consolidation, which for me slightly increases probability that tier 1s and MSOS are going to start weekly consolidation as well. Tilray, again, just not proving anything. It's tight. It's worth paying attention to if the bulls show up with volume. But the simple statement is, if we're not breaking 201, the bulls have not proven a thing. And again, clearly the better place to be in Canada is OGI right now until something changes. CGC, free fall, earnings, just junk. Heading back down to our basis support in the 380s. Again, just not doing anything. It is not earning my capital. The bulls are not saying to me that I should be putting my capital in this name. Psychedelic sector has news on a Friday night. So the FDA sneaking it out Friday night. They've accepted a new drug application filed by Lykos Therapeutics for MDMA-assisted therapy for PTSD. So this is step 1. Now we go to August. And August is the decision. The FDA granted the application priority review and is expected to announce its determination in August 2024. So this is now a dangling carrot saying the FDA could potentially grant MDMA as a treatment for PTSD in August 2024. That would be a catalyst for the psychedelic sector, CMPS, ATAI. Who else? MDMA. No, there is a ticker MDMA. It's low cap. I don't really follow it. MNMD. Worth keeping an eye on these names into August and anticipating that there will be the potential of some upside before then as people, same thing with this decision with the DEA, prices are going up as people anticipate the potential of it passing, or I should say of the rescheduling. But CMPS is close to confirming a daily downtrend. Key support 988. If we lose 988, it's a confirmed daily downtrend, and we then zoom out to the weekly and we watch for the weekly higher low compared to 766. But that would be a sign of things weakening a bit. Bulls really want to hold 988 to keep their complete control. Because if we don't, I would be viewing that as a breakout of this resistance zone, all these resistances, a breakout, but a failure to hold it on the back test. In an ideal world, the bulls hold it on a back test and then see continuation. So this is a pretty important test for the bulls to try and maintain their control. And looking at MNMD, it's trying to head back up to the recent high, 445. I have a small position from this little cup and handle type setup. Seems to be a theme, doesn't there, in terms of setups I'm liking in this sector. That was my swing entry there. And so if we get over 445, it's 451, 455, and then $5. But nice weekly uptrend here. ATAI is weaker overall. It's just trading sideways. Not much going on there. So for this sector, I really just focus on CMPS and MNMD at this point. And we'll see on Monday who reacts to this headline. It's intentional that it's put out Friday afternoon, Friday night, in my opinion. But it'll be interesting to see which names get the most benefit from this possible significant progress in August. All right, appreciate you watching. Thanks always for the likes and the shares. And we're starting to consolidate, and so analytics are going down in these videos in terms of likes and views. I almost didn't do one this weekend, but keep the analytics going. Have a good day, do good things, and we'll see if weekly consolidation begins to start this coming week.